What's up guys, capnbozzy here, and this is Mass Effect 3 Multiplayer and 7 Academy Part 19. And in this episode, we'll be covering the human soldier. So let's take a look at her powers. So this is going to be kind of an interesting build. I'm not going to be using frag grenade in this build, which if you've used the human soldier a lot, you may think that's kind of unorthodox, but as I explained throughout this build, you'll see exactly why I don't recommend using the frag grenade. Quick note on this, the human soldier is actually a very versatile kit, and that's what makes it really interesting and fun to play with. There's a lot of different ways you can play with the human soldier. So of course in this particular build that I'm going to be showing you today, this is just one of the ways that you can do this. I have tested this build on platinum, so I know that it is platinum viable, and it works in a very specific way, so it's definitely important that if you are going to use this build that you follow it to the T, and that includes using the exact weapons or very close weapons. Of course, if you don't have the ones that I have unlocked, I'm using the Rigger Carbine and the Arc Pistol. If you don't have those unlocked, there are obviously other weapons that can kind of do the same, perform the same function. There isn't really any other shotgun that is quite like the Rigger Carbine. However, there are other pistols that are just like the Arc Pistol, so of course, you know, modify it as you need to, but like I said, even down to the weapon mods that you're going to be using, I have tested these specifically for this particular build with my playstyle I'm going to be showing you. So it's definitely important that, once again, if you're going to use this particular build, that you follow it closely and with the strategy. And of course, I will be able to explain everything much easier once we actually get into the game and I show you. But so let's just start here with Adrenaline Rush. Alright, so of course what Adrenaline Rush does is it accelerates your reflexes, granting time to line up the perfect shot. In other words, it basically has two capabilities, and this is actually a really this is actually a pretty crappy description of what Adrenaline Rush does, like as far as how it actually changes your stats. So what Adrenaline Rush actually does, and it depends on how you spec it, is it basically serves two purposes. One is it gives you more increased weapon damage for the amount of time that Adrenaline Rush is enabled, and if you spec it this way, well, okay, so let me go back for a second. Depending on how you spec it, it can either give you increased damage with rank 4, or it can be increased hardening. So the whole point of Adrenaline Rush is basically to allow you to either restore your shields in rank 6 if you use shield boost instead of power use, which I definitely suggest using. And it allows you to also basically enable it, and it allows you to be tankier. So you can either be tanky as far as doing more damage, so increase damage by 20%, or it allows you to have some more hardening with your health and shield, so that you are decreasing the amount of damage that you're taking by 40%. You can really go either way with this. I've found in my testing that I think the damage is better because I'm going to be using a cyclonic modulator, and that will really take care of any of the shield deficiencies that I'm going to have with this build. So in my opinion, I think it's better to go with the damage, but like I said, depending on what level of cyclonic modulator you have and what level of other gear you have, because keep in mind, if you don't have completely leveled up weapons, you're not going to be able to kill enemies as fast as what I'm going to be showing you in the video. So you really may need that extra shield to be able to compensate for the level of weapons that you have, because with this kit, it's very important that you have a very strong offense, and basically a strong offense will be your best defense with this kit. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to go with increased damage here for rank 4 over hardening, and then for rank 5 we have duration versus melee damage. You know, normally in a lot of these powers, I would never really choose duration, because whatever the default is usually good enough. But in this case, I pretty much never use the melee, the heavy melee for this kit, because it's really bad. Honestly, it's I think that the human melee, actually that's not true. Some of the human melees, for like the human engineer, when you do more of like the uppercut shot, it's a lot better of a melee in my opinion than the human soldier's melee. And the human soldier's melee is of course just like the using the Omni Blade, and it's kind of just like a it's not like a jab. I don't know how you would explain it, but it's like a, you know, a top really shitty description. It's like a top top punch. You'll see when we get into the game. But the point is, I know there's a a martial arts word for it, but the point is, it's a really slow animation, and it really makes you vulnerable in the animation, and I really suggest not using it unless you're like obviously wide open and it's against a mook or something. But for the most part, you don't really want to use this melee. So I definitely don't suggest going with the increased melee on this. I suggest going with the power duration. So of course that will allow you to have increased damage for up to 6.8 seconds, and that's definitely, you know, really great when you're facing bosses, and that's really how we're going to be using Adrenaline Rush. You know, as soon as we get into against a boss, you know, like in the video, I'll show you obviously against a brute or a banshee. We're going to have, I'm going to turn on Adrenaline Rush, and that's what I'm going to use to, you know, give me the boost when I'm going against the boss or the sub boss. So I'll have that, and of course on rank 6 here we have shield boost versus power use. Absolutely recommend going with shield boost. It's a really great like auxiliary use of Adrenaline Rush. So like I said, you can use it for the increased damage bonus when you're against either like mobs or against the boss, and you can also use it as the shield boost, and this kind of works like an ops pack or like a stim pack. So it really is great, because as soon as your shield goes down, if you have your Adrenaline Rush available, you can use it and it will instantly restore your shields. Not all the way, but it will restore them enough so that your health will obviously not be affected anymore. If, you know, if your shield goes down and like, you know, your health is being drained, you'll instantly get your shield back up so that you can keep on fighting. And so that's like a really great secondary use of shield boost, is like kind of like an ops pack. So it helps you to be able to save your consumables, and helps keep you alive. So Adrenaline Rush is such an underrated power in this game, I've got to say. It's really an awesome power if used correctly. So this is part of what really makes the human soldier so versatile. Alright, so moving on to Concussive Shot here. This is another power that in my opinion is really underrated. It has a really fast recharge speed. So you can see here, this is with it upgraded all the way with the recharge speed. Rank 5 here. This is only 2.08 seconds for a recharge speed. That is awesome. And it also has the ability to knock mooks who have just health, you know, no shields or anything. It has the ability to knock them down, and obviously it also works as a detonator. So I'm going to be using incendiary ammo with my arc pistol and my Rieger, so I can prime for fire explosions, and I'm going to use Concussive Shot to detonate those fire explosions. So once again, you know, Concussive Shot helps to just synergize this kit all the way, so that you can tank with this kit. You can get some long distance work in with the medium to long distance shots in with the arc pistol. Plus you can even prime and detonate your own combos, and of course you can detonate your teammates tech combos as well. So let's look at rank 4 here. We got force and damage versus radius. I personally go with force and damage with this one, because for the most part you're not really gonna be using Concussive Shot at really far distances. You're probably just gonna be using the arc pistol to get headshots from far distances. So really, this is really just for medium to close range that you're gonna be using Concussive Shot. So that's why I don't think you really need radius for this one. All right, and then for rank 5, we have Shatter versus recharge speed. This is another part of this kit that you could go. I'm going to choose to not go with Shatter, so obviously this is geared towards using basically cryo ammo. So if you wanted to use a cryo build for this, of course you could use cryo ammo with your gun, and you can use that to to prime enemies for cryo explosions, then you can use concussive shot to detonate it. And with this rank 5 shatter, you can have this increased force and damage to frozen targets by 100%. And you know, that's really great bonus there if you want to go with a cryo, you know, like a cryo angle with this. Like I said, I'm personally not going to do that. I prefer to use incendiary ammo, but this may be something you want to do. You know, if you want to go that way, it could be a fun thing to do. Or if you just find that, you know, you're still kind of early in the game, and you know you have a lot of cryo ammo, but maybe you don't have a lot of incendiary ammo, this may be a way that you know, you can help to compensate for that. I don't know, you know, that's something you can try out, and it depends on your situation. But I'm gonna go with recharge speed with this because, you know, I want to have concussive shot available to me whenever I need it. So, like I said, I'm not going to be using the cryo angle, so recharge speed makes more sense for me. And then for rank 6, we got Hammer versus Shredder. I suggest going with Hammer because obviously it'll give you this increased damage, and it'll give you the increased radius here, so that will make up for not choosing the impact radius here, since you'll have the increased radius with Hammer. And this is, of course, over Shredder, which gives you increased damage to organics by 200% for over 10 seconds. So the reason I don't really like this is because obviously it's only to organics, and it's only for 10 seconds. So I would rather have damage, you know, 50, you know, by 50%. And this radius you know, all the time, versus something that's only going to be for 10 seconds. And also we have force here. I'd rather have damage over force personally. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to use frag grenade with this particular build. In my opinion, frag grenade is probably the weakest grenade in the game. Actually, it's not the weakest grenade in the game. I would say the sticky grenade is the weakest grenade in the game, and this is the second weakest grenade in the game. I really suggest not using the frag grenade. It's really not a good grenade. It can be hard to aim. It doesn't do a lot of damage. You know, it's really just kind of a crappy grenade, in my opinion. Alright, so moving on to Alliance training here. So part of this build is, of course, being able to have access to my powers with my cooldowns. So I want to be able to have the fastest cooldown speeds as possible, so I can use Adrenaline Rush and Concussive Shot, you know, whenever I need to. You know, I'm going to have damage and capacity here over weapon damage. I'm already going to be doing, you know, plenty of damage with the Rigger, so I don't really need it for that. And the arc pistol, I'm really just going to be using against mooks, basically at long distance range. So I don't really need to put the extra, you know, weapon damage here, and it's only 7.5%. So going with the extra power damage here, but really this is about the weight capacity bonus, just so that I can have faster cooldown speed. And then we have headshots versus power damage. So once again here, I'm going with the headshot damage because I'm definitely going to be focused on getting headshots with both the Rigger and the arc pistol. So, and that also helps to compensate for this rank 4 for not going with weapon damage. Alright, and then lastly here, we got weapon weight versus weapon damage. Once again, I'm just going to go with weapon weight here because, you know, I really want to have fast cooldown speeds. With this one, you could probably go either way. Once again, it depends on your situation. Alright, and then lastly here, with fitness, I just have fitness all the way down. Once again, I don't suggest using the melee very much or at all, really, with this kit. So this is just, you know, all these other ones are melee for the A ranks, so I just have durability here, and then this martial artist, so I just have shield recharge, and then fitness expert over melee synergy. Alright, so that covers the powers, so let's move on to the weapons. So like I said, I'm using the Rigger Carbine and the Arc Pistol here. Depending on what you have unlocked, obviously if you don't have the Rigger Carbine, you may want to go with a different shotgun, maybe something like the Wraith, or let's see, the Claymore, or the Eviscerator. If you're still, you know, don't have the higher level shotguns unlocked, you could also go with something like the Raider. You know, Katana, even if you're really just starting off. But really the Rigger is the best for this situation. and I'll show you once I get into the video. I'm really just going to be using it to tank with, so whenever I have bosses and I need to you know, strip shields or really just take them down all the way, I'm going to be using only the Rieger basically for bosses, unless I'm shooting from medium to long distance outside of the Rieger's range. So I definitely suggest going with the extra thermal clip here. The Rieger has pretty small capacity without this, so definitely go with the thermal clip. And also, as I've mentioned in previous videos, there is a bug with the Rieger carbine. With the high velocity barrel, it does not, I mean, this is in the player's favor, it does not actually register this increased weapon weight by 50 here when you're actually in the game. It does show it in your power recharge speed. So if I were to change that that high velocity barrel to something else, it would increase my recharge speed. But like I said, don't worry about that. In the game, it doesn't actually register. Okay, so it will not affect your cooldown speed. So then, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to be using a pistol here, I definitely suggest going with the arc pistol if you have it unlocked. And you don't necessarily need to go with the magazine upgrade. When I was doing my testing with it, I found that I definitely helped to have this magazine upgrade. I also tested the cranial trauma system for headshots, and you could go with that as well. You could also go with you know, something like the ultralight materials if you need to compensate for cooldown speeds with other parts of your build, or you could also go with just the regular high caliber barrel. I'm going to go with the magazine upgrade because I just, you know, especially on Platinum, I want to be able to have as much ammo as possible so I don't have to worry about it. And I'm also going to go with the pistol scope here because, once again, the entire purpose of the arc pistol is to get headshots. Pretty much, if you're not going to be getting headshots with it, it's not even worth using. So this is really just using this on mooks who are at medium to long range distance outside of the Rieger's range. So that's what this is specifically for. And of course, obviously, if your Rieger runs out of ammo, and you know, this is just your sidearm to use in that situation. So really, you're just using this as your sidearm to if you run out of ammo, or if you need to, you know, kill some mooks from medium to long distance. Definitely suggest going with the pistol scope because that will just make it so much easier to get those headshots. Alright, so lastly we got equipment here. So once again, if you wanted to go with the cryo angle and use that for concussive shot, then obviously you want to go with cryo rounds. If you're not doing that, however, I suggest going with incendiary ammo so that you can prime for fire explosions. So obviously, if you have incendiary rounds, 3 or 4, that's what you want to go with. If you don't have either of those, you could also go with something like disruptor rounds. Either way, you definitely want to do something that you can prime for some kind of tech explosion with. So either disruptor rounds for tech bursts, incendiary for fire explosions, or cryo for cryo explosions. Okay, and then for your weapon bonus, obviously you either want to go with targeting VI, and of course this just allows you to get increased headshot damage. And if you're using you know, shotgun like the Rieger, you could also go alternatively with the shotgun rail amp, or with a pistol rail amp if you're using something like an arc pistol. Alright, and then for armor bonus, I definitely suggest going with a cyclonic modulator. I only have a 2 right now, but obviously normally I'd be going with a 3 or a 4. If you don't have a cyclonic modulator, you could also go with an adrenaline module, and this will help you run faster, and that can help compensate you know, for having kind of a low shield. Alternatively, if you already were fine with your shield, you could also go with something like power efficiency to give you some increased cooldown speed. And it's really all I suggest using. Obviously, if you're doing something else, you might want to go with you know, stabilization module or whatever. But really, I suggest going with the cyclonic mod. All right, and then lastly here, for your equipment, I'm personally going with omni capacitors, and really this is just to help even more give me power recharge speed, so I have fast cooldowns. Alternatively, you could also go with something like the shield booster. That's definitely not a bad idea. You could also go with something like a shotgun rail amp, or let's see, get scanner is also not a bad idea. And I think that's really about it. So really, I would say with either shield booster, omni capacitors, or like a shotgun rail amp. Yeah, I think that's really the way to go. Alright, so that covers the build, so let's hop into the game, and I'll show you exactly how I play with them. Oh, her. So, like I said, I was doing the testing in Platinum. I'm going to do this video in Gold, though, just so it'll be a bit easier, because I'll be talking.
This location has been overrun. We need you to lock this area down. Incoming hostile forces. Understood.
Okay, so for my keybinds in the top left there, I've got Adrenaline Rush, which I'm using with middle mouse or 3, and then for Concussive Shot, I'm using that with X. So, of course, I got my Rieger here, as well as my Arc Pistol. And like I said, basically I want to be using the Arc Pistol for medium to long distance against mooks. So, got some mooks that are over there, and here we go, there's over here. So once again, you want to be focused on getting headshots. You can see on Gold there, with the Arc Pistol all the way leveled up, you can take out cannibals on Gold with just one shot, one headshot. So that's absolutely what you want to do with the Arc Pistol. And of course, you'll be priming these mooks for fire explosions, so if you don't get a headshot and they don't go down in the first shot, you can also use the Arc Pistol to take them down, or you can just use Concussive Shot, as you can see there, to get the fire explosion on them. And what's really great about the Arc Pistol is, of course, you can charge it up to get the one heavy shot on it, or you can also use it in a burst fire way, so like this. So if at any time here, of course, I get overwhelmed, I have a couple enemies on me, I'm going to switch over to my Rieger, and that's what I'm going to use for crowd control and to do some more tanking. When I have bosses around me, that's what I'm going to be using against the bosses. So you can see there, I turned on Adrenaline Rush, and that will just give me the damage bonus. So I'm absolutely going to be turning that on whenever I come up against mobs of enemies or bosses, and that will help to take them down faster. And don't forget, you can also use Concussive Shot to knock enemies down.
Some fine work, team. That's it. Enemy is still active. Stay alert.
And of course, you can also use Adrenaline Rush to restore your shields, and I'll show you that here once my shield goes down. Sure, it will happen at some point here. Okay, so my shield's down, and bam, you can see Adrenaline Rush restores my shield, kind of like an Ops pack or a Stim pack. It's also kind of like the Turian Cabal's Biotic Focus. That's actually probably the most similar to that function. So like I said, when we come up against the brute here, I'm gonna turn on adrenaline rush. Let's take him down real quick with a Rieger. Once again, my shield went down, so I just saved my adrenaline rush for that. So once again, adrenaline rush has two functions here. Basically, you use it like an ops pack to get your shield up if needed for defensive purposes, and also if you're going to fight a mob or like this brute here, I'm going to turn it on so I have the increased damage. Alright, so I'm going into kind of a mob here. All right. Okay, so let's get this objective done, finish this round, and we'll wrap this up. Hoping I get this done before she gets up here. Yep. So whenever you're doing these little mini hacks here, always make sure you're taking cover. You're using cover, the soft cover appropriately. Cover you because you're vulnerable there. Alright, well that was as smooth as can be. So let's finish this round here. Alright, so against this Banshee here, I'm going to turn on Adrenaline Rush and use the Rieger to strip her shields. Oh, never mind. She went the other way. Alright, so when she gets over here. Alright, so turn on Adrenaline Rush. Strip her shields. Just keep hitting her. Alright, pretty simple. Okay, well that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you found it useful. And in the next one, I'm going to cover the Geth Juggernaut Soldier. So I know that's something that I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in. It's a very, very important kit in the game, very heavily used. So stay tuned for the next one, and thanks a lot for watching. capnbozzy out.